5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, RoundTable family, to another exciting episode of the Sports RoundTable Trio Edition. I'm your host, Rowdy, always joined by my co-host, Little Bro Coop and Big Boy, and we know what week it is. Obviously, Thanksgiving.
It's time, baby. Look at that. Look at Big Boy.
It's back.
It's back.
And then, it's where the rival's back, man. I mean, obviously, we got Texas A&M. We got
Iron Bowl.
We got some other big rival games, but this one's going to be taking the name. So that's what we're going to spend a lot of our time talking about today on this Tuesday night. Obviously, when you're watching, hopefully on a Wednesday. We got a special guest joining us here in the next minute or so. Our guy, Eric Henry over at Horns 24/7. He's going to be joining us, preview the matchup a little bit. We're going to go through some playoff rankings as well as our predictions. We'll show you a little thing as we kind of walk through that. But how are we doing, guys?
Doing good, man. I got to go on campus today and the University of Texas campus, and it's popping, boys. They are ready. It's A&M Hate Week. This is why you go to the University of Texas. These players, Texas leads the series 76-37. Let me just throw that shot right in there. This is why you go to the University of Texas. Quinn Ewers, it's all on his back. Quinn, he will go down as a Texas legend if he wins this football game. Period.
It will definitely help, for sure.
He will go down as a Texas legend if he wins this game.
And if he wins the SEC.
That too, but we got to win this one. And that's the bigger thing is that not only that this game is huge, without anything on the line, it's already huge, right? But it's to go to the SEC championship, something that neither team has done, actually. Granted, this is their first year, so yeah. But A&M hasn't had the opportunity to go either. After the 12 years they've been in there or whatever. But so I have so many shots to throw on A&M Hate League. But
A&M hasn't won a true road game in the SEC ever.
Do what?
Road game.
A&M's never won a true road game. They've won the game at like AT&T versus Arkansas, but they've never won a true road game in the SEC.
Didn't Johnny win at Alabama?
I was going to say at Alabama.
It was at A&M.
I think he went to, I don't know. We're going to fact check that.
Well, I saw that today. It was Vanderbilt and A&M who've never won a true road game.
I was thinking Johnny won it.
If that's true, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. But no, man, I'm excited. I talk a lot of shit. So if Texas somehow does lose this game, I will get off the internet for a decent amount of time until we get put in the playoffs, because Texas will go to the playoffs, win or lose in this football game, I think.
That's what a lot of the guys here are saying on the local.
I think it's all about the money, man. And you have a team and a program like the University of Texas, and you know that the University of Texas is going to bring eyes and bring money and put butts in seats. I think either way, they're going to the playoff. So
there it is.
But yeah.
Well, joining us now is our guy, senior writer over at Horns 24/7, the man Eric Henry, coming back on. Obviously, Big Boy's got the background going.
Number one guest right here, Mr. Eric Henry.
How are we doing, Eric?
Oh man, what's going on, fellas? First off, early happy Thanksgiving to all of y'all. Hope y'all get a chance to enjoy it, and shout out to Coop, the newest Longhorn of the group.
That's right. That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Kind of nice. This game's not going to be on a Thursday like it has been in the past for you there. At least you get to enjoy your Thanksgiving and not be at the stadium necessarily. But no, man. Glad you're joining us. It's been a long time since the last time this game was played, and like Coop was saying, I mean, it's already a big enough game, but it's even got bigger implications this year. One of the teams is going to be going to the SEC championship for the first time. Obviously, Texas's first
Texas'
year in that
first
new
year.
thing, but
So, but
both of them on the line to go and face Georgia and Atlanta, man. But appreciate you joining us. Kind of looking back real quick, just the last week. Obviously, Quinn kind of injured up there, looks like his ankle kind of rolled up there towards the end of the first half. Do you think what's Quinn going to be like going into this game? Do you think you can kind of expect him to, just get some pain meds, be ready to rock and roll? What are you thinking?
So here's the thing. I mean, Quinn Ewers and this Texas offense, they can't afford another injury that's going to kind of affect the way he likes to go out there and play football. We can sit here and talk the cows come home, right? It's one of the things I emphasized. Quinn, was never 100% coming off the abdominal injury. We all know this. And it sounds cliche, right? Football coaches say all the time, well, no one's ever 100% this time of year. And I get that. That's real. That's telling the truth. But Quinn wasn't 100% when he made his return to the lineup at Georgia. I think that's clear, right? So he can't go from dealing with that to now dealing with an ankle situation, which it was obvious in the third quarter he couldn't move. I remember saying this to fellow Horns 24/7 member Jeff Howe, like he can't move, at least not move adequately enough to maneuver the pocket, right? So to your question about is one of those games where you just pop a couple pain meds, yeah, I do think. Unless Quinn shows, and for your audience, Texas' practice schedule, usually they practice in the morning because of the Thanksgiving holiday. The kids don't have any classes. So Sark moved practice at night. So when we met with Steve Sarkisian and players on Monday, they hadn't even practiced yet. They just were coming in for treatment. Unless you see something this week that says, hey, Quinn is not right, he's not moving right, it's my expectation you're going to see him. Because think about it. If you didn't see Arch Manning in previous weeks, when Quinn was fighting through the abdominal, there's no way that Steve Sarkisian is going to sit him if he's anything short of, oh man, this guy cannot operate the offense the way that we're expecting. So yeah, I'm expecting to see Quinn Ewers out there. I mean, here's the thing in my mind. Granted, while Quinn did come to media on Saturday. I forgot he didn't come on Monday. Texas usually wouldn't have brought him. If the ankle was that bad, they wouldn't have brought him. And I saw him coming in, and granted, he could have been still riding the high of some pain meds when he came in Saturday, but he didn't have a noticeable limp, right? So I do genuinely think it'll be a precautionary thing, but I expect him to see him on Saturday.
Definitely.
yeah, and there are people out there that really do think that Quinn Ewers isn't going to play in this game. Like I've been on multiple different accounts that people are saying Quinn Ewers is not playing this game. Listen, this is Quinn Ewers' game. I was saying it before you got on. If Quinn Ewers wins this football game, in my opinion, I think he goes down as a Texas legend. I really do. He's won a Big 12 championship. If he wins this game, goes and beats A&M in the first time in however long, since 2011 or whatever. And then he goes to the SEC championship on their first year. If Quinn Ewers wins this football game, I think he goes down as a Texas legend. So that's why you will see him on Saturday.
real quick, and listen, y'all are lifelong diehard Longhorn fans. Forgive me, I'm fighting through a little bit of a cold here, so if I'm stumbling out, that's what it is. But I would love y'all's perspective on this because I wrote it, and I'm not trying to tell fans how to think. But you had 7-8 years, I could probably say a decade of Texas football that wasn't anything close to this. And I got to believe that even if it's hard to take this position now, in 5 years, 10 years, the Quinn Ewers era at Texas is going to be looked back at and like, damn, we had it good. Like that Ewers dude, you're going to look back at him, maybe not with the same reverence of Colt McCoy, I understand. And I think part of that is just because Quinn's personality is naturally, shyer, naturally more reserved. But just on the field, Coop, to your point about him being a Texas legend if he wins this one, I'm not trying to lower the bar, but I think there's got to be a special place in the heart of Longhorns fans, I would assume, for the quarterback who led him to 2 straight 10-win seasons competing for, not only a conference title, but a college football playoff spot, regardless of what happens on Saturday. I mean, unless he goes out and craps the bed, I would think that his legacy's got to be made.
No, I agree, and I've also commented on some of your tweets, about Quinn, and because he's getting hate, right?
Yeah.
He gets a lot of hate, and that comes when you have a guy named Arch Manning behind you, right? Cool. But I'm on Team Quinn. I like Quinn. I didn't like him out of high school. I did not like him at South Lake. It was a different guy. But I like him. I'm a Quinn fan, so I don't know about these guys, but I am definitely a Quinn fan. He has earned my respect for sure.
I think Quinn has to get the credit of, I mean, when he came here, he was the 5-star Mr. Everything. And he went through a bad first season. He took his lumps, and then last year he took us to the playoffs, and this year he's in the driver's seat to do the same thing. And definitely, I think Quinn gets a lot. I think a lot of it is because it kind of seems like his lackadaisical attitude, or he's just kind of quiet, and he's not a rah guy. And I think a lot of fans are kind of just don't like that, or like, why isn't he showing emotion? But Sarkisian said that from day one. That's why he likes him, because he's like not too up, not too down. And I do definitely think he has a special place in Texas for what he's done. And I think, like you said, I remember when there wasn't a quarterback. I like Sam. Don't get me wrong. Sam was a football player. I like Sam a lot. But even before that, when we had Wheeler, I mean, the 18-wheel package and all that kind of stuff, like we were begging for a quarterback. And I do believe he's brought that back. And I think one of the reasons Arch may be here is because he came here first. So,
yeah. Well, of course, our guy Eric Henry over at Horns 24/7, reading all year, some great articles. He's always been big on the run game. Okay. And obviously, we know what happened last week in the fourth quarter. Eric finally saw, and really the rest of Longhorn hopeful saw, what the Texas run game should have been and what it's lived up to. 15 straight running plays to close out the game. Eric, first thoughts on that kind of fourth quarter drive there, and then how you think that can translate into this weekend's game versus what's a talented A&M defensive front, but may not have the numbers to do so.
Fellas, it feels like Steve Sarkisian and I kind of went back and forth on this throughout the majority of the year. And I don't mean it in an antagonistic way. It's just that, I would point out to Steve, hey, do you feel like you're getting enough from the run game? And Steve would, I don't have a piece of paper here, but Steve would pick up the box score and be like, hey, if I see 300 passing and 200 rushing, that means it's a good day. That's cool. It's cool, but we have two eyes and can look at the numbers, right? When your three longest runs this year came from Arch Manning, Ryan Wingo, and Isaiah Bond, that's telling you something. Secondly, if we can all do simple math, if I run for 100 yards and I had one carry for 95 yards, the other 4 were for 1 yard or a yard and change, okay, the number is going to show 100 yards, but we all know that kind of the steady rushing efficiency wasn't there. And people who kind of weren't in my camp, fellas, thought I was nitpicking by saying, hey, at least they're getting yards. And that's true. Texas, even before, entering the Arkansas game, they were 58th in the nation in rushing. So they were getting adequate enough rushing yards as a collective. But what I wanted to see was what this team demonstrated last year. When they had to close out a game, they could turn to Jonathan Brooks and C.J. Baxter and say, give us 7, 8, 9 straight runs. And we're going to leave Alabama in the fourth quarter, leaning on our offensive line, running through the teeth of your defense, and leaving them with a win. They did a semblance of that at Michigan, although that Michigan game was well out of hand, in my opinion, by the time the fourth quarter came around. The beautiful thing about that 15-play, 86-yard drive, certainly correct, is they took it to a Kentucky defense that, man, regardless of what you think of, Mark Stoops and his team, 4-7, they got 2 big 300-pound defensive tackles. Deion Walker, I always forget the other kid's name, who's lined up right next to him. That's NFL size up there in the interior of that defensive line. To take it right to them and say, we're going to run it and pick up consistent yardage. There's going to be a game. I said it last year. There's going to be a game. It could be this week. It could be the SEC championship. It could be a college football playoff game in which you just know you need to get 3, 4, 5 yards at a time. Just grind that defense out. And to show the ability to do that, in my mind, that was, in my opinion, a turning point. Even when I asked Steve that question on Monday, he didn't necessarily want to label it a turning point, but I think it was. So the second part of your question, how can that kind of bode well for A&M? I think it's huge. If you want to know how to take 110,000 people out of the game, just grind that clock, run it down their throat, consistently pick up first downs. You can only get up so many times for 3rd and 3, and then you know that offensive line is going to convert it, and keep the momentum in that stadium. So that to me, I think is huge.
And one of the things to me on that same kind of point was, to me, they had more success in the first half
Yes.
than they have. And it wasn't just, towards the end of the game when it kind of might be, one of these games where they're up 21 and let's just run the ball to get the clock round down. I mean, they ran the ball throughout the game pretty good. And then at the end, I think the offensive line has taken a step up from where they were at Georgia, and I mean they're doing much better in pass blocking and run blocking. We saw. I think they're finally coming together, and we need that, especially if Quinn's going to be a little hobbled.
Yeah, big boy. I'll just quickly kind of piggyback off your point. That was the thing that I felt was missing, right? Is the ability to go out there and establish the run from the start of the game through the end of the game, right? It's not that, listen, no two teams are the same. This year's Texas team, the strength is obviously the pass game, right? With the amount of weapons you have at receiver, whether you say downfield or not, whatever. Steve Sarkisian has clearly assessed that the strength of this team is the pass. That's why they've thrown it so much this year. But at some point, to at least see them lean on that run from start to finish, know that you have that in your toolbox, you have the ability to do it. That to me is huge, because again, when you get in some of these games, like a CFP game or an SEC title game, you got to be able to go out there and establish a line of scrimmage, and that's how you do it.
Agreed. Kind of sticking with the line, like I like our defensive line to me is really stepping up too. They got guys that are just popping up that are making themselves some money, and of course the defensive ends to me with Simmons and your boy Moore. He's finally making that switch, and he's doing what we expected him to do. So what do you think about that when it comes to trying to handle Reed and what he brings to the table with his athleticism?
Yeah.
And, it's unique because I asked Jahdae Barron, I asked Barron Sorrell, I asked Ant Hill. I think those were, I didn't ask that question to Taft. It's just those three. Just from their perspective, the difference between facing a Diego Pavia, a Talon Green, and a Marcel Reed. And they all said, just early impressions on film, he's just more electric, right? And, if you're my age, you're 33 and you think of electric, you think of Michael Vick, you think of Bob Griffin at his time, right? Like when he was rolling for, like, that's what you think when you think of electricity from a running quarterback, right? Not someone who's a dual threat, not someone who can gash you for 5-6 yards. You're talking about someone who can go the distance in any play. To your question, as far as the defensive line, I think the key, and I hate to sound like a broken record, is going to be actually Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lole, who's really stepping up. First off, Lole stepping up over the past few weeks, looking almost like that guy who he was at Arizona State, who was a near All-American. You get that pressure up the middle of the defense, up the middle of the offensive line. That's going to be the way to rattle this dude. Simmons and A. Hill, Trey Moore, those guys. You want to see them get the opportunities to pin the ears back, 3rd and long, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and pass rush. But still, especially in a game like this where Colin, he's getting better at it. But one of the things I noticed in the early going with Simmons pass rush, it's wholly that quick first step, but he's going upfield, right? Like there ain't no, let me, dial it back a little bit and see if the guy's going to break and take. No, Colin Simmons is rushing upfield, right? So also when you face someone like Marcel Reed, you don't want to allow those rushing lanes. But yeah, I think this defensive line, I think Ant Hill as somewhat of a spy. A. Hill was, A. Hill is just such a gregarious, good dude when he talks. And he's like, I'm excited to play Marcel Reed. Now, I saw some reporters that are like, you're excited? He's like, yeah, I'm excited. He's not going in scared. He's excited because Anthony Hill's athleticism can handle Marcel Reed, right? So that's the key to me, is getting that pressure up the middle and then allowing those guys in those pass rush opportunities to do their thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I love our running back room. I really do. I think our running back room is great, but they do have the tendency of putting the ball on the ground. Here's the thing about that, though. The turnovers are a big thing in football anyway, right? Whoever wins the turnover battle, probably going to win the game. This game in particular, I've been saying it for a couple weeks now, like turnovers in this game to me are going to be like the big difference maker. I saw that not Jonathan Brooks, Jaden Blue, was walking around with his ball or whatever. Have you heard anything else on that, or what are your thoughts on them turning the ball over? And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts of this. So I went back and I watched every Jaden Blue fumble that he's had at Texas. And there is one common thread. Outside of the one at Arkansas, the one that slowly rolled out of bounds for Texas fans,
Yeah.
And one other, it's usually when he's in traffic and he gets a little loose with the football. And he's not necessarily carrying it, loose. When I say loose, I mean it's not elbow out, it's not tucked in.
Mhm.
His actual, I'm gonna sound like I'm playing Tashard Choice here. It looks almost as if his actual grip gets loosened on the ball when he's in traffic, right? And the thing that he said, which I counted, it was 6 fumbles in the left arm. Some guys, big boy, you appreciate this, like old school, right? I remember running backs who they wouldn't switch hands just because they didn't feel comfortable going to the left hand. So it's like, I'd rather be in my dominant hand. And if I get that here, I'll just kind of, tuck under as opposed to trying to switch hands. That to me could be a simple solution with Jaden Blue. Is if your dominant hand is your right hand, like I said, I counted 6 of them of the 11 fumbles that he's had that came on his left hand. Brother, just don't switch hands. You get in traffic, cover up. But it is a big thing. And Jaden talked about it. He said most of his fumbles were in his left hand. That's why he was carrying that ball in his left hand. The fact of the matter is this, and this is what I said during the year when he got benched, or this kind of saw his playing time reduced after the Mississippi State game. Jaden Blue's too talented, too valuable of a piece of this run game to just not have him as a factor, right? I like getting him the ball in space as a receiver, but you saw on Saturday what it looks like when you have Blue and Quintravian Wisener humming. So you need both of those guys.
Yeah, I listened to your show with Chip, and I think you said he was averaging every 27 carries,
correct,
a fumble, and loses one. What was it, like every 38 or something? Like he's lost.
Right. Yeah. You pretty much nailed it. So he's averaging a fumble every 27, and the ones that are lost, right? Ones that of course Texas doesn't gain back, it's about every 36. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That's one thing I really think Gibson would be a huge help in this game as far as the inside run, and I hope that they have the confidence in him, to let him, get the ball, because I mean, he's got the ball 3 times in the last 2 games, and it's just on 4th and 1s, and so I think that kid's special. He has a little special extra gear when he's getting up there in the inside. So
for sure. Looking at obviously offense, we know we've been talking about the run game, just kind of waiting for that passing game to just keep hitting its stride like it kind of did versus Florida, but obviously more like it was versus the Michigans. What do you say your one X factor is, obviously going into Kyle Field at night, is for the offensive side of the ball to really get going? And because you're gonna have faith in your defense at the end of the day, just with how well they've played. Like, it'd be very shocking if A&M goes out there and puts up 21, 28 points on Texas's defense, to me. What do you think the one X factor is for the offense, really, just to get going and kind of just take this game under control?
Stay on schedule. Stay ahead of the chains. That's the big thing for me. Texas, and I haven't fully charted these numbers since week 5 and week 6. I probably should go back and revisit it. But Texas at home, and granted, by the time I had charted it, I think the only true road game they'd had was Michigan. So probably not the biggest sample size. But Texas at home did a phenomenal job, or has done a phenomenal job of converting 3rd and long, right? But that's kind of expected. You're at home. It's a tougher ask to do that in front of 110,000 people, especially with this offense. What I'm interested to see, guys, Texas hasn't shown a real proficient ability to truly hit downfield passes consistently, right? Now, the threat is there, because anytime you have Isaiah Bond, Ryan Wingo, Matt Golden, you got to respect the deep ball. But I'm waiting for the day that I see a defense say, screw it, we're not going to give you all of those 12, 13, 14-yard comebacks and hitches, right? Because that's a bread and butter Steve Sarkisian's offense. You see them run those comebacks. Usually IB works the middle of the field to first down. I'm waiting for a defense, and you can do it out of the three high safety look that Arkansas deployed, to just say, okay, test us, right? Your quarterback hasn't shown a proficient ability to hit on the deep ball consistently. If Quinn hits, let's just throw out a number. If Quinn hits 1 out of 6 deep balls, 1 out of 7, 2 out of 7, that's a good day for him. And I'm not saying it's great in terms of the average, but that's what Quinn Ewers standard is showing. That's a good day for him. I'm willing, if I'm Texas A&M, I'm willing to live with that if I can take away everything underneath. So that, to me, it kind of tying it back to my answer of staying on schedule, is they can't end up in the 3rd and longs. If they can work everything underneath, where it's getting the ball in your hands quickly into the hands of your playmakers, let them do the yards after catch, let them accumulate yards after catch, the run game, staying on schedule, I think that's everything, because that will at least keep the defense honest. If you end up in those 3rd and long situations, and I'm A&M, I'm going to say, all right, I'm not giving you that 12-yard hitch, that 12-yard comeback. Like, you're going to have to go earn it. Play it, beat us deep, and we'll see what happens. So that's the key to me for the offense, is staying on schedule.
Kind of piggybacking on that, have we heard anything more about Moore or Bond and their injuries? Are they going to be 100%, or have we heard anything?
IB looks like he's going to be good to go. DeAndre actually, and that's the thing, DeAndre clearly was kind of I don't want to say break glass in case of emergency, but, he didn't get as many snaps as he typically has played last week. But everything we've heard is that he's going to be good to go as well. I mean, because again, he did suit up and partake, in warm-ups, and actually got some snaps in the game last week. He just, you didn't hear as much of his name because of, obviously the injury and the way the game played out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Steve, we all know Steve going into last year into Alabama. I think he had already been preparing for that game for a while. I think that was a big game for him. Do you think he kind of comes into this game with a little bit more something that we maybe haven't seen yet? Like, do you think he's been saving a little bit of something extra for this game? This is a big game. This is a big game for his legacy as a Longhorn as well.
Steve Sarkisian at times will say that, I'm not running 1,000 plays. Sometimes we want to run when we run really well. But Sark's offense is so multifaceted. There absolutely have been games, Michigan, big games, where you look and it's just like, all right, we ain't seen that play before. That was new. So to answer your question, yeah, I do think there maybe are some things, maybe not new things, but I'd be willing to bet that there are certain wrinkles that he may break out based upon the opponent. And if there's any game to do that, it's this week. And I actually like that about Steve. Sometimes it's called like, it's the vanilla game plan. No, like, if you look at your opponent and you say, hey, if we should be able to do this, and this well, then go do it, right? But if you have a big game like an A&M or a Georgia or an SEC title game, and you say, all right, we may want to spring something that we haven't shown, then do that. But yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they're Texas isn't going to veer too off base from the run. But in the passing game, it wouldn't shock me if you see, I don't want to call them trick plays, but just something new that you haven't seen all season.
I really like that pre-snap motion. And when they run that, and it seems like when they were playing the 3 high, he didn't do that as much against Arkansas. And I love that. To me, that makes everything just flow. And it just seems like it's so in sync when he's running that pre-snap motion. And sometimes he gets away from it. And I don't know if it's because what the defense is giving him, or if it's just, him not wanting to, maybe have people jumping off sides or whatever, because it's going to be loud. And that's going to be another thing, the communication with them. It's going to be the loudest game any of them ever played in. I can guarantee you that. So,
especially with their built-in speakers, because they sure need them. They think that they're the best atmosphere in college football, but they got to put extra speakers in to just make sure,
Here we go.
I don't know.
Sark brought that. Did Sark bring that up in the press conference? Did someone ask him about
Yeah, no, it was asked to him. I want to say it was Brian Davis. I could be wrong. Or it might have been Roger Wallace. Nevertheless, he was asked about it, and Steve kind of made the joke like, hey, the refs, they can't use them during play, right? But listen, right, when it comes to extra speakers and all that crap. Like, end of the day, it's football. Like it's football. You got to line up, you got to go play. And I think that's a reasonable expectation that Steve Sarkisian has of his team.
And it takes a couple plays to go and shut that crowd up real
Correct.
fast.
Correct.
So I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. No, it's I was on campus today. It's A&M hate week. A bunch of A&M hate going on, but that crowd can be shut up very quickly. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Two more quick things before we take up too much of your time. Obviously, does the Longhorns come out on top in your mind? We don't get score prediction because everyone needs to go to Horns 24/7 and look at his score predictions.
Yeah.
I texted Eric about I think it was last week. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. The away score prediction,
yep.
the away team score, he has been almost either right on the nail or just right around it. So no score prediction unless you already have it, but winner in the end of this on Saturday night.
Yeah, well, look, I haven't even really thought of where I want to go with my score prediction just yet, but actually, I probably need to get that into Jeff tomorrow, considering Thursday is, of course, Thanksgiving. But no, I do think in the day Texas is going to win this ball game. The reason I think it won is Big Boy referenced it, the run game. What I saw last week was a true turning point. I expect them to be able to capitalize on that. 2, Texas A&M's defensive line is a very good defensive line. I do not want to take anything away from them. They have true studs on that defensive line. And they can harass a quarterback. They don't get home a ton. And the reason I reference that is because, as I said with the offensive X factor, I can deal with Quinn being harassed, right? I mean, Georgia harassed Quinn Ewers. Now, Georgia sacked Quinn Ewers a lot as well. If you can keep Quinn upright, and you stay out of those 2nd and 16s, 2nd and 17s, whatever it may be, at least you're setting yourself up for success. And the last reason I think Texas will win this game is their defense is legit. I was having this conversation, shout out to Caroline Fenton at Yahoo Sports, a homegirl of mine. She does a great job covering the SEC for Yahoo out in Nashville. And she's saying, hey, Texas hasn't really played anybody. And I'm like, yeah, here's, Big Will, you appreciate this. It's an old Roy Jones line. Said, it's not that I didn't fight anybody. I made him look like nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like we for some reason are not giving Texas's defense the credit and respect they deserve. Because when Georgia beat Texas, it wasn't like Georgia's offense just went out there and playing lights out. Their offense got so many opportunities because of Texas's offense.
Yeah, they get the ball at like the 30 every time. Like
right?
it's pretty easy to score points when you get the ball at your 30. So
there you go, Coop. So that's my third reason. Is Texas's defense is legit, and I know that will travel to College Station.
I agree.
All right. Texas winning, going to the SEC. Last thing, not really this game related, but obviously college football playoff show tonight. Any thoughts on that? Obviously, there was a lot of mix-up this past week, and we're getting closer to that final 12 being there. Do you have a sleeper to kind of make that? And just overall, any thoughts going into it tonight?
Yeah, man. My sleeper, and it's kind of weird to say this, everyone was saying that Indiana's knocked out after their loss. I don't know if Indiana's knocked out. I think Indiana, there's a path for them in the playoff. If I were to give you a sleeper, or maybe just something that I'm keeping my eye on, I want to say sleeper, something I'm keeping my eye on is Boise State getting that top 4 seed. People have to remember, it's not the P4 conference champions who get those top 4. It's the highest ranked, right? I genuinely think if Boise gets that 4th spot, that 4th bye, it at least gives them a fighting shot. It gives them a fighting shot to upset someone. I don't think that a G5 team, unless there's, and I went to the University of Central Florida, right? So obviously you can throw the cheap shots there as far as, the UCF national championship. But I don't think a G5 team has a route to the national championship by going through their entire schedule and having to play the next week, right? Especially after a Mountain West title game. If Boise gets that bye, that's something I'm interested to keep an eye on, especially since their star player is Ashton Genty, who's someone they got to turn around and hand the ball to 40 times a game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely be interesting. We'll we'll have it out on social media later, but we're going to come out with our own first prediction as well. So, it's interesting to see if there's a 3-loss team that eventually gets in now with so many teams losing first. That's really never a possibility, but that could be something that happens now, man. But Eric, we appreciate you coming on and joining us this week. Everyone go tune in to him and everyone else's work over at Horns 24/7. Obviously part of the football season. I mean, it's
November, man.
conference championship time, hopefully for Texas, and then obviously playoff time, whether or not they win or not. But man, we appreciate you coming on this week with us.
Anytime, y'all go check out horns247.com, 24/7 Sports running a promo. Black Friday, 75% off a year VIP memberships. Go check that out. And as always, check these guys out. Doing great stuff. Appreciate y'all having me on.
Best in the game.
All right, that was the man, Eric Henry, over at Horns 24/7. Like you said, Black Friday deal going on.
Yeah, go check it out. Go get signed up. You're gonna need it for this playoff push. Need the inside.
For sure.
Gonna need it for the playoff push. Is for sure. But man, it's a big game, and we'll talk about it here. I want to kind of wrap up with that. But obviously, we asked Eric about the college football playoff. That we don't have the updated rankings yet from the committee, but you have your sports roundtable trio edition committee.
Well,
So we're
Oh
gonna.
yeah,
show
Big
you.
Boy hasn't seen this yet.
half of us, yeah. It's not
I
mine.
asked Big Boy earlier today.
Listen,
Yeah,
work was a deal. I'm lucky
That's
I'm
what
here.
I'm saying. That's why we went ahead and
We
made it.
made one, and you're gonna either agree with it or disagree with it. We're gonna
This
see.
is my first time to see it too.
Awesome. Well, if Kay could figure out how to work his share screen. All right.
Make
look
sure
at
you're hiding those tabs you don't want seen. You know what I'm saying?
that.
All right.
All right, what we got here?
We can't see our faces on them.
It doesn't matter. He just needs to see that.
Okay, so we got at number 12, Iowa State.
So 12. So this isn't so obviously there's the rankings and then the playoff seedings. So
Yeah.
this is just playoff seedings, no rankings or anything like that. So start off number 1. We got Ohio State. So pretty much that's saying Ohio State's going to be beating Oregon in the Big Ten championship.
It's hard to beat a team twice.
That's kind of our thoughts there.
I like that.
Number 2, this was Coop. Georgia beating Texas in the SEC championship.
Disagree.
I know. It was hard for me to do it. But,
I respect that though. I love the SMU pick.
Yep. Then
Yep.
we got number 3, SMU winning the ACC over Miami.
But
And
you
then-
still think Miami will be in it in the playoff?
Yeah,
Yes, we'll get to that.
which we still got them in.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
get to
And then Boise State at number 4. Like Eric said, we think it's going to happen. They're going to win the Mountain West and be the 4th highest ranked team. So they're going to get that first round bye.
So to that means that you think that the Big 12 champion will not be higher ranked than
Yes.
Boise.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Especially on just how the things are
I mean,
going.
Just like it was this past week, going into this week, there was no Big 12 team ranked higher than them.
The
And
Big
both
12 is
those,
getting messed up.
those top 2
I mean,
Big 12 teams lost.
Colorado lost
BYU.
and BYU lost. Yeah.
So now the 2 favorites
Iowa
are
State.
Iowa State and Arizona State, who this past week were ranked 21 and 22.
Yep.
So that's where we're going to get to 12 here. And then that'll go down. 12, Iowa State. So we got them winning the Big 12 over Arizona State. Pairing up them with Oregon getting a 5 spot. Obviously, be probably rank wise higher up, but with how the seeding works, 5. And then going over, we'll just stay on that east side there, or west side, I should say, left side. Number 8, we got Notre Dame going in there versus number 9, Indiana. So we still
So
got,
do you have Notre Dame beating USC, correct?
correct.
Okay.
This isn't like a full on final prediction. This is just like ours going into this upcoming week.
Okay.
So winner of that obviously gets Ohio State. Winner of Oregon, Iowa State gets Boise State. Oregon may have a nice, easy run there. Then top right side, number 7, Penn State staying in it versus number 10, Miami, who would lose the ACC championship to SMU.
But still get in.
If they do, if they do,
I don't.
if
I
they
don't
do
think
win
so.
this weekend, they have to win.
Yeah.
And then this is why I wanted to pick Georgia to beat Texas, because if this is right, look, you got the real UT, which is the University of Texas, versus Tennessee. And I really want that matchup because I want it to be settled. I want that debate to be settled of who's the real UT. So that's why I have them in at 6 versus 11 right there.
Yeah, I
Tennessee only has
mind
2.
that.
Tennessee has 2 losses. They're going to be a 2-loss team. They play Vandy, and I think they'll get done there, and so they'll have 2 loss.
Yeah.
Eventual loss SEC team.
And then if Tennessee gets past Vandy, they'll get in.
Yeah.
So you only have 3 SEC schools.
Yep. And 4 Big Ten.
Interesting. I don't see my disagreeing with this. I don't think they would let 2 ACC teams in there.
You don't think Miami will stay in?
No, because their strength of schedule is no. I don't. I don't at all.
Yeah. Well, then that's why we had them 10, because we couldn't put them at 12, because the 12 would automatically go to the Big 12 champ. So really, they're the last 2 in is Tennessee and Miami.
Yeah. And Notre Dame, I don't know. We'll see what happens this week. But yeah, no, that's good, boys.
And then first 4 out, that's where it gets a little interesting too, because Miami's not locked to go to the ACC championship. It could very well still be Clemson that goes to the ACC championship.
Yep.
And Clemson has a big game this week versus South Carolina.
Yep.
AP ranking, it's 17 versus 18. We'll see but they only have 2 losses. So I think Clemson could be a very well team that could slide in there, especially if they end up making the ACC championship, but also having a good win versus South Carolina this week. They can maybe slide in. Arizona State on there just because if they were to beat Iowa State, then that'd be the one to get in.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get to our 3-loss teams. I think the 2 top 3-loss teams are Alabama and South Carolina.
I got a feeling tonight, and this is being, recorded before the show. I think Alabama's going to be about 13. I think they're going to be like one of the first outs, and
I saw a thing.
They want Bama in there for whatever.
I saw a thing. It said that Bama has a 33% chance of getting in the playoffs still.
Yeah, no, they're going to try to get, and that's why I just don't see only 3 SEC teams in there. They'll do whatever they can to get 4, and I think 4 Big Ten. And
so would you put like Alabama in over one of the ACC teams?
It has to be over whoever doesn't win.
Whoever doesn't win the championship.
I think them. I mean, South Carolina is good too, man. I mean, just the loss to OU, it's so difficult to put them in there because OU, I mean, they just became bowl eligible with that win.
Yeah.
Now we'll see what if Oklahoma goes to LSU and wins. Like hold on, they're finding themselves, but I just think they're going to try to definitely get 4 SEC teams in there.
Well, and it's the same thing as, I was saying it earlier, and why Texas, I think, will be in the playoff, either win or lose this coming Saturday, is because they're going to put butts in seats. And it's an organization that they got a lot of fans.
It'd only be 2 losses.
Yeah.
To me, that's the bigger thing than any of that. And hey, they have to play Auburn, who's going to be hyped up. It's a rivalry game, and they just came off a big win. So,
well, I think the big thing too to watch, especially for like our Tennessee fans and like Alabama, about hopes trying to get in, is if A&M does beat Texas this week, right? A&M gets in the SEC championship versus Georgia, but they lose to Georgia. A&M now has 3 losses. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have Georgia A&M and Texas, who are all going to be in the playoff, right? Because you can't put Texas in the playoff and not put A&M if they lose in the SEC championship, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it can get a little interesting, is because then you probably have Texas slide down to like I don't even know, like probably an 8 or 9, and A&M probably be like a 6 or 7, possibly. But that's 3 year SEC teams there. So I mean that could push Tennessee out. So I mean it could get interesting depending on this game has a lot of, not just obviously for Texas and A&M, but like I said, Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss, like those South Carolina teams like that has a big factor in too. So
Yeah.
I think if A&M can win, I think it just opens up, like you said, those other schools, and for people to come, to UT and say, oh, they haven't, beat these teams, and that discussion happens. But I mean, it's funny to me. Everyone's talking about how, the SEC, every game's important. Everything, like, y'all can't survive a schedule like this. And now that, Texas has so far, except for Georgia, who lost at the time 3 games in 2 years, and all of a sudden, well, hold on now, you're just not playing the right teams in the conference. You can't have it both ways. And I just think that's disrespectful. And they beat the teams that they were supposed to beat, unlike, Ole Miss, unlike Alabama,
Right,
so
and the thing is that too. It's like you're gonna give Georgia a big key win against Texas, but then you're gonna say Texas isn't that good because they haven't played anyone. So figure it out. Is Texas good or is Texas not good? Is
Yeah.
Texas a key win or is Texas not a key win? If you're gonna say that they're a key win, which is cool, that's fine, do that. But don't say that they're not good because they haven't played anyone, right?
and it can all be handled. Again, like I've been saying, it's all going to get handled. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
And this weekend is
A big step
number
towards
one.
it.
I mean, this
A
is
big step towards it. It's a big step.
I really think that this can shut a lot of people up, especially if they go to
I'm
the
nervous
SEC
though. Are y'all
champ.
nervous?
No,
You're not nervous at all, huh?
no,
he will be once the game's
no,
You're not nervous. The
no.
only reason why is like, no, actually no. F that. I'm not nervous. We're good.
Yeah,
We're
you are.
good.
Hey, this is going to be what it is,
got
and
an
and
A&M shirt on.
No,
What are we doing?
I truly believe, like I told Eric, I think the offensive line is kind of figured it out. I really do. I think they're going to be able to keep Quinn upright, and they're going to be able to run the ball. And if they get up 21-28, I just really think our defense is good enough to where
Oh yeah, I think we
they
just
can
got
score 28, 24, 28
I
points.
think so
Like,
too.
it's going to be very difficult for A&M to score on them.
And
So
if our Texas defense, my boy Hill, if he gets after old Marcel, man, it's going to be a long day for that offense because I think that offense runs through his legs going.
and just
So,
remember, he's still a young quarterback. He's gonna make mistakes.
yeah,
And he does have that athletic ability that is hard. I hate running quarterbacks. I've said that all the time. But there's going to come a time when you're going to have to pass it. And we have a great secondary. And they're ball hawks. And they I mean, look how many, they got 17, 18 interceptions this year. I mean, they want interceptions. And if you make a mistake, they will capitalize on that. Now, Texas has to keep during the third quarter, they put the ball on the ground 5 times. Like, that cannot happen. That was, and then Quinn, he was hurt, but he threw that lateral, lost him 11 yards, and he threw another one that was pretty close to being a lateral like that. He just, like, that's the kind of stuff a third-year quarterback should not be doing. And I do think a lot of it was his head and the pain and whatever. And that whole third quarter was just sloppy and ugly from everybody, except for the defense. Except for the
defense has won
defense.
some games, man.
The defense is legit. So,
All right, well, let's go a little round table here. Just round the table. Obviously, let's get everyone's score predictions, but kind of building off the key. Let's go key player that going into the game for for Texas to come out with the victory? Big boy, you want to start? Who's
Just
your player of the game?
inside.
Who's your player of the game? Either side, and score prediction. Or you can do player on offense, player on defense if you want.
Well, I mean, the player of the game to me would be Quinn Ewers. If he goes out and balls, there's no A&M does not have a chance. And that's I believe in our defense that much. If he goes out there and does one of those things where he goes 15 straight completions and just the ball's not touching the ground, I mean, you can cancel Christmas. But the offensive line, it's going to be so loud in there that, this is going to be the loudest game any of those kids have ever played.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be at night. It's going to be awesome. So to me, that definitely, he's the key player of the game. And they're going to need to run the ball, but it's going to come down to Quinn to make some plays big time.
And I agree. And he's third-year quarterback, man. And he has the experience to do it. And if there's a guy to do it, it's going to be him.
And people can say whatever you want about him, man. He shows up. In big games, he shows up.
Yeah.
Georgia, he didn't. I'll give
he
you all
didn't have
that.
much help. There's not a lot you can do when there's guys in your face in a 1 point.
Well, and some of those were him too. But as a total, like he's built for it. And I hate the hate that he gets. There's people who just talk so much about him. He's this, he's that. Like, dude, the kid's good. And there's Sark is not stupid. If Sark truly believed that he was not better than Arch, he would not be playing, bro. I'm not saying Arch can't throw a better deep ball, because he can. But I don't know, man. I really think that this is Quinn's time to shut people up.
I agree. And I think both sides of it, they're minimized turnovers.
Score prediction.
That's a big, yeah.
I haven't even thought about it, really. I'll go 28-10.
Yeah, 28-10.
Okay. On the flip side of that, I'm going to go on the defense side of the ball. I think stopping Marcel Reed's legs is going to be a big factor, and we got a guy to do it. We got a guy to do it, and I think that's going to be Anthony Hill. Anthony Hill is going to be on him all game, I believe. And so if Anthony Hill plays a good game, I think Texas's defense plays a great game, which leads to Texas winning this game 28-17.
LaFau needs to have a good game too.
Yeah, LaFau.
And they need to, like Eric was saying, they need to stay in their lanes, man, because he is a kid that he's fast. He's an athlete, man. And you don't want him to get pumped up and, getting confident and, then who knows what can happen. But no, I agree with you. Ant Hill's awesome.
I'm going to stay on defense. I mean, obviously we know Quinn, but I do look for over the run game to be kind of how it was in the fourth quarter. Take some pressure off Quinn so he doesn't feel like he has to make every single play, every single down of that game in College Station. But I'm going to go Colin Simmons. Some pressure off the edge, maybe 2 sacks, force fumble from behind, get Marcel Reed from behind, get him a fumble there. I just think if they can have pressure when he does try to pass, that's going to be big. Try and just get the passing game out of there. Don't even let A&M think that they have a chance to pass on Texas's DBs. Mm-hmm. And my score before y'all even said that was going to be 27-17. So we're all
around the same.
28, 27,
10, 17. Yeah. 17. Another key thing, and Eric kind of like touched on it a little bit. Important first and second downs are going to be huge for Texas's offense. Like if you can get it down to, third and manageable and third and shorts, I think that's when like Texas's offense really excels.
Yeah.
Which goes into anything like taking away false starts and holdings and stuff like that. So that's going to be a big part of this.
And the crowd, when it's 3rd and 10, they're a little louder than it is when it's 3rd and 3. It's like, okay, let's get this sack, let's get off the field.
Yep.
And no, you say you shut up A&M fans, but dude, those they don't show up. They don't shut up. They're doing their whoop and their fucking
until they're getting their ass beat.
The whole time. Man, they stay. Now, if you're blowing them out, maybe so, but they're you know they're not the smartest. They're going to keep going. But good respect to them. I think I love that it's back, and I do wish it was still on Thanksgiving. I don't care if Eric had to work or not, but I'd rather it be on Thanksgiving.
Sure. Well, any other final thoughts before we wrap this one up and go?
What about my Oklahoma pick, boys?
Yeah,
You got it.
Who told you? It's on here. I told you.
Yep. Praise big boy. Go ahead.
Where's big boy? He didn't lay any dough on it though. So
You would have gotten paid from it. That's for damn sure. You would have.
he didn't trust it though. Yeah.
I'm on Indiana. I just said Indiana was gonna get blown out too. I mean, I could have paid my mortgage, but you know.
Y'all have a good Thanksgiving, man. And hook 'em horns, A&M hate week. A&M. So let's go.
Damn, Coop.
Hey man, I'm officially a Longhorn. They're taking
wearing the colors.
No, I just
Yeah, you are. I don't know why you're wearing maroon. That's
I don't
kind
know.
of
That's a good point. I just
that's Round Rock, right?
Yeah,
That's the
Round Rock.
Dragon.
That's my dragons, man.
Okay.
But yeah, y'all go like, subscribe. Big boy, we haven't done it in a while. What else?
Ring that bell.
That's right.
All Eric Henry, all social media, go subscribe and join Orange 24/7 as well. But
Black Friday specials.
Black
Go
Friday
get
specials. But until then, we're gonna have we'll have a longer episode next week. Going into the conference championship, a lot of rival games to recap next week. So we'll see what happens this week. But until then, have a great Thanksgiving week. Enjoy rival weekend.
Happy Thanksgiving.